guys, welcome to Coastal Conservative News, CCN. I'm Michelle Posey.
And I'm Allie Leger.
We are here coming to you from Washington, D.C., obviously right in front of the wonderful Lincoln Monument. Behind us is the Washington Monument. It's a little chilly here. What have we been doing here, Allie?
We have been here attending and watching the confirmation hearings of all three nominees that are super big. Looking forward to getting them confirmed. It is Tulsi Gabbard for DNI, Department of Intelligence. We also are closely watching Kash Patel as head of the FBI director, and as well as our very own favorite. Bobby Kennedy Jr. for Secretary of Health and Human Services.
We've had the pleasure of attending some great PAC events for MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, as well as American Values. Guys, grassroots is growing and expanding, and we are becoming this wonderful machine that can work parallel to the establishment. I just love it because it's going to create more opportunities for future grassroots candidates. I can't wait. But right now, guys, we just want to tell you a little bit about what's happening this week in the state of Florida. We have made national news. We've actually grabbed some national headlines. We're hearing about it right here in D.C., and everybody's asking what the heck is happening in Florida. So obviously, Governor Ron DeSantis was pushing our Florida legislature to convene for a special session. He wanted to handle the immigration policies that we would see walk out President Trump's plan. At first, they fought back, and then they actually convened. What took place, Allie?
So they did convene for a special session. It was not the same policy proposal that Governor Ron DeSantis has put forth. It kind of watered everything down, but also usurped Governor DeSantis's authority to work with and implement immigration, illegal deportation. Oh my gosh, deportation from illegal immigration.
Yes, exactly.
Into the state of Florida, and gave it to the Commissioner of Agriculture, which, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of others, especially our constitutional representatives and constitutionalists around our country, believe that it is a constitutional violation to have the Agricultural Commissioner in charge of that.
I think there's a couple of important facts that you need to know. First of all, Governor Ron DeSantis didn't have to wait for President Trump to get inaugurated to be this strong on illegal immigration. He had the ability, as well as our predominantly Republican, legislature. They could have done this years ago if this was something that was really important. So that's the first thing that strikes me weird. President Trump's coattails are obviously very big, but we need leaders that will lead without waiting for President Trump to act on something. The second thing that's really interesting is we're not a fan of bureaucracy. And so giving the authority to handle illegal immigration and how we're going to process that to somebody in the agriculture community, that really, the agriculture community deals with this on a regular basis. It's almost like that's a conflict of interest.
Yes,
right?
1000%.
Exactly. And there's a couple of other things. I don't think that DeSantis' proposal was really strong on how we're going to
verify citizenship.
He said you're just gonna have to take a affidavit that says you're not that you are a citizen. Well, that's not good enough for me. You should have to prove some kind of ID. Also, we also felt that the Florida legislature was really watering down the verbiage. I'm not even sure that Florida as a state needs to get involved in this, right? Because President Trump and ICE are going to work with local law enforcement to carry this out. Is that correct?
1000%. But I also believe that ICE is just going to come into Florida and do ICE's job, right? And their job is to work with local sheriffs, because the sheriff's department will be integral. And also the police departments are going to be integral in implementing the deportation plan set forth by President Trump. So it really
Yes. Let's not forget that the state's version, the legislature's version of the bill that they put forward, calling it the Trump Act. No, Trump acted January 20th, but it waters down the need to make sure that our money, our tax dollars, are not going to help illegals get college degrees. And so that they've kind of usurped that completely. It's very interesting, Allie, because the one thing that the Florida legislature is responsible for doing is balancing the budget. So where I would like to caution our legislatures to go from here, instead of trying to do the federal government's job, is to actually tell us what is the cost of illegal immigration in the state of Florida when it comes to education, when it comes to healthcare. We would like to know these things so that we can make sure, again, that we're not letting our dollars go to that.
Instead of grandstanding for praise from President Trump in order to receive endorsements for higher offices in which they sit.
What would you say the call to action is here, Alex?
The call to action would be to call your legislators and tell them that you do not support their bill that essentially encourages enslavement of illegal immigrants.
Absolutely, guys. Governor Ron DeSantis has said that his veto bill is ready to veto this when it gets sent to him because it's not the action he put forward. He needs a 2/3. They need 2/3 vote in order to go against that. We don't think that they have that vote. But some people have even asked our congressmen and women to chime in on this. Why would they be asking for our federal government for answers to this?
And that is exactly what some representatives have chimed in to say is, the same people that are asking for our input as federal, representatives are the same ones that want less federal involvement, right? So we need to make sure that states' rights are states' rights and federal rights are where they are. We have to make sure that our Constitution is upheld in all senses of the form.
Absolutely. So I think your call to action is to reach out to your state representatives, your state senators, let them know we don't like their watered down bill. What we want to know the impact this has had to Floridians' pockets since they haven't acted in 4 years now that we've known that this illegal immigration was going on under Joe Biden. Make sure you contact them. Tell them, let the federal government do its job. Step out of it. We do not want Wilt Simpson as the agricultural commissioner to be the one in charge of carrying out illegal immigration. ICE has a job. They'll do it. Guys, what's it for us here with the Week in Review? We're going to kick it to a quick commercial break, and then you'll join Raj Dorsami with Suncoast Community.
Imagine rewinding to 2020.
Parents obviously can equip their kid to go to school however they want, but there shouldn't be any coercive mandates.
Local school board members made a firm decision enforcing mandates that disregarded the voices of concerned parents.
This virus is going after our young children.
The emergency school board meeting in Sarasota dissolved into chaos as the board discussed mandating masks for students, which ultimately passed tonight.
Refusing to back down, thousands gathered at the Hollow, determined to secure exemptions for their kids. With the support of dedicated doctors, they navigated every path to shield their children from mandates. Yet, despite these united efforts, a darker challenge surfaced. Doctors who issued exemptions became targets, some even losing their jobs for standing by their convictions. That's when the decision was made, a bold new vision to create a sanctuary for children's health and a support system for parents' rights. Thus, We the People Health and Wellness Center was born, founded on a mission to serve, to support, and to protect. This vision has since expanded, aligning with the Make America Healthy Again movement and incorporating the most advanced treatment modalities. Additionally, We the People Health and Wellness Center has launched a series of transformative community-based events, each featuring a trusted expert. In December, Dr. Joseph Ladapo spoke about his new book to a packed audience. Next, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny in an intimate lunch and learn. Still to come, Dr. Pierre Corey, Dr. Brian Artis, plus others. The new management, doctors, and staff of We the People Health and Wellness Center stand with you, ensuring that no parent will ever have to face medical tyranny alone again. We are here to empower, to inform, and to support you for a healthier community.
Our nation's capital here in D.C., where for us Floridians, it's a very cold day. Things we're going to be talking about in this update here is the efforts to secure Florida's elections and enforce the immigration laws that President Trump is asking for. Let's get straight to the headlines. First, a key citizen bill aimed at removing non-citizens from the voter rolls has successfully met the deadline to be in the drafting process, and now has both the Senate and a House sponsor in the state of Florida. In addition to targeting non-citizens, this bill also seeks to remove individuals that are no longer alive from the voter rolls, as well as remove people that are in the state of Florida from another state, because these three groups of people are not supposed to be on the voter rolls. Meanwhile, efforts continue to improve the reliability of vote-by-mail procedures. So there's another bill in the state of Florida that is working on that. As you know, this vote-by-mail process is a debacle. any country that uses vote by mail has tremendous amount of unreliability in the voting process. This particular measure attempts to take this controversial vote by mail phenomenon and make it more reliable by introducing a stricter identification process to explore ways to limit ways in which the election can be exploited through fraud. Also on the table, a proposal for single-day voting as a means to further secure election integrity. Now, we'll stay in the state of Florida, but go to something else, another topic, and that is Florida Immigration Bill. This is Senate Bill 2B, as in boy. And on this front, a significant bill is making waves in Florida politics. The bill, you won't believe the name here, it's called Tackling and Reforming Unlawful Migration Policy. The acronym is Trump. So this bill is called the Trump Act. It has been introduced aiming to coordinate state enforcement of federal immigration laws. This legislation positions Florida's Commissioner of Agriculture, more on that in a minute, as the chief immigration officer responsible for liaising with federal immigration agencies. This bill also establishes the Office of State Immigration Enforcement within the Department of Agriculture to oversee enforcement efforts, conduct audits, and administer grants to local enforcement agencies. And we talk about grants, there's $500 million that's associated with this legislation. Meanwhile, a broader debate is unfolding, a drama, if you will, between the governor, who first introduced this idea of passing legislation and called for special legislation session, and his own legislation. Each of these two individuals claim to support strong immigration enforcement, but upon closer examination, their approaches have very, very significant differences. Now, President Trump has long emphasized the need to remove illegal immigrants, not only for border security, but also to prevent unlawful voting, which can sway the elections. He argues, and correctly so, that individuals who enter this country illegally do not hold the values or priorities of this country or even their local communities at heart. After all, they came here by breaking the law. And so, while many of these individuals from other countries are hardworking, striving to build a better life for themselves, no nation, and this is important, no nation really allows unrestricted entry without a regulated visa process. I had to get a visa, I had to go to the US Embassy, apply for a visa while I was in Africa, and only upon receiving the visa would I be able to even come into this country. And so there's a very regulated process, and almost every country has this. But in this country, the government chose to completely abandon that and allow anyone to just walk in, no criminal background check, and so on. So addressing illegal immigration in the context of election security is so critical because it's one of the foundational pillars for why all the work on people that are here who broke the law and coming here should not be here. So any policy that claims to support Trump's immigration stance, which both the governor says he's doing, both now the legislation says he's doing, but any bill that says they're doing that without tackling non-US citizens on the voter rolls is really a facade. Why? Because the reality is that deportation efforts is really going to focus initially on the most egregious criminals that are here in this country who came here illegally. This leaves many other individuals who will be with us for a while because they're not egregious criminals. So these folks, some of them are already on the voter rolls and are already voting. So you, an American taxpayer, a citizen, your vote can be canceled by someone who fits that category. Now, the bill from the legislators have completely ignored this component. Governor DeSantis' bill has partly addressed this, but it has addressed it by increasing the penalties for people who are caught on the voting and are not citizens. Well, my friends, so many people are already on the voter rolls who are non-citizens, and they're not caught, they're not reported, because there's no directives to county officials to do that. Yet that's what the governor put in his bill. In addition, he wanted these individuals to swear that they are citizens. Well, this doesn't make a lot of sense because you can't expect a dishonest person who is not supposed to be here in the first place to do the honest thing by honoring what they swear. So it doesn't make sense. Now, going back to the legislation bill, the one that is also trying to follow Trump's vision, they have decided to put the Commissioner of Agriculture in charge of enforcing immigration laws. Now, let's look at that for a minute. One of the biggest industries in the state of Florida is agriculture. Agriculture relies on migrant labor. So why on earth, of all the people in the state of Florida that could serve in this critical role, why would they choose the person in charge of the Commissioner of Agriculture, whose special interest groups need migrant labor, whose big donors need migrant labor? Why would you put him in charge? We'll continue to monitor this developing situation and keep you updated as new information emerges. For now, that's your update on Florida's election integrity and immigration policy. Stay tuned, stay engaged. Back to you, Ali and Michelle.
Hi, guys. Thank you for joining the Political Pulse here on CCN. We've got some updates here regarding the court case between the RPOF, predominantly Evan Power, versus Robin Lum and the FRA. We've got with us Lou Marin, who is the president of the FRA. How are you doing today, Lou?
Hey, Michelle, that's vice president for the state of Florida, but that's okay. I'm doing Trump-tastic and God-tastic.
Fabulous. So today you were in Duval County, where you did have the first day of like a preliminary to the trial, correct?
That is correct.
All right. So I heard that there were some decisions that the judge did make. That the motion for the Republican Party of Florida to dismiss this was denied. Can you give us some more information?
Yeah, pretty much they come in here thinking that they're going to get this dismissed hands down. But when the judge, I think when he looked at all the facts, the briefings, he realized there's more here than meets the eye. So basically he shot down their motion to dismiss. What was encouraging too, he also recognized the fact that there are exceptions in the law. And when he asked that to the RPOF attorney, he didn't respond about the exceptions, but it's okay. Our attorney made sure that they knew there are exceptions, which is if you have 10 years or more operations in the state of Florida, you're excused from this law they're trying to hang their hat on.
Yeah, that is, I mean, it's outlined very clearly in Florida Statute 103.081. The second part of that statute very clearly says, you know, if you're in existence in the state of Florida as an organization longer than 10 years, obviously you're at 20 plus years here with the FRA. So it looks like this is going to continue. This is going to go on. Were there any developments that came out of this hearing today?
Well, I would say the judge has been very cautious, and I respect that. He was very fair, and he is going to take some time to review all the facts, and we'll get to the next level here shortly. He's going to go make a ruling, I think, the near future here. So I feel very optimistic about what I heard and saw today. We fill the whole chamber up with all FRA people, which is exciting, and just excited to be in the chamber. And I believe that judge is going to be very fair and impartial, is going to make the right decision.
That's wonderful, Lou. I know I did have somebody that kind of sent me some notes from today that was in attendance there. And one of the things that struck me, I want you to comment on, is that part of the Republican Party of Florida and Evan Power, part of their argument here is that they are a private organization, so they should be able to control who, who's able to be a member and who's not able to be a member. But what I found interesting about that is that if the Republican Party of Florida wants to run themselves as a private organization, why do we use taxpayer dollars to then have their elections? Obviously, state committee man and state committee woman, they're kind of trying to double dip here, aren't they?
Yeah, it's amazing. And I don't want to get too much into this here strategy wise right now. But end of the day, there was a lot of hypocrisy on his side. You know, basically what I saw him telling the judge what he can and cannot do, I don't think it's going to sit well with the judge, because you see the expression on his face. So, but end of the day, right now we're just going to sit back, look at all the what our next move is going to be, and I think it'll be in a positive one here. But end of the day, I think we definitely won big time today by stopping their ability to dismiss this case. And I think, like I said, I think this judge is impartial, and he wanted to listen to the facts. And basically he's not going to dismiss this because he knows there's more to this case than what they're disclosing. So he saw that, he read between the lines, and so it's a big win for us. So we get to get us to the next level.
That's amazing, Lou. Can you let our viewers know? I know here in Sarasota County, where we anchor from, we are very familiar with the Florida Republican Assembly. We've got a strong chapter right here in Sarasota County. But let our viewers know, if you can, just in a couple minutes, what is the FRA? When did it start? Where did it derive from? And why is it so important for us to have this type of organization in the state of Florida?
Well, way back in 1933, it was a thought, and it came to fruition. They actually started. Wanted to push a Judeo-Christian organization to help kind of make sure that we stay and get back to our constitutional roots as a republic. And so it was formed back in 1935 when the actual was formed, incorporated. And in 1996, they went national. So we're operating in a little over 30 states right now. And by the way, just to let you know too, speaking of states, I just brought in the state of Wisconsin here in November, and we just brought in the great state of Colorado here a couple nights ago, and we're going to do another chapter in Wisconsin here at 8 p.m. our time tonight. So we're growing big across the states, and I'm just excited to be part of this here, because at the end of the day, it's about doing the right thing, doing what God empowered us to do, and that's to hold the GOP accountable.
Absolutely. And I think the ideal situation, Lou, we've talked about this before, but just so our viewers know, it would be wonderful if the Republican Party of Florida and the Florida Republican Assembly could just peacefully coexist in the state of Florida. We really complement each other. So we're going to keep our eyes peeled to this as more develops. Lou, thank you so much for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. And God bless you guys. And you all keep on trumping. Thank you, dear.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, guys. Welcome to our guest interview segment right here on Coastal Conservative News. I'm so happy to welcome to CCN Chris Jersky. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Michelle.
Wonderful. Now, we actually met in person. We were at an FRA function, Florida Republican Assembly. So tell our viewers real quick how you got involved with the FRA and what do you do there with the Florida Republican Assembly?
Yeah, FRA was really a lifesaver. We got pushed out and blocked in multiple attempts whenever we tried to do anything with election integrity with the Republican Party. It was really hard to get access to specifically the mail-in ballots. I deal specifically with the voter rolls and mail-in ballots primarily. There's other experts out there that take care of the machines. But like FRA was a political organization that had access to candidates. So with that access, I immediately talked to Lou Marin over there. It happened within a couple of moments, like literally within an hour conversation. I was able to get appointed to VP for the state and started to get access to political candidates, which got us access to the mail-in ballot data. And that was just a game changer. Within like 4 days, we were able to scan through. I think this was the 2022 election, the general, and we were able to scan through and find undeliverable mail-in ballots and everything like that.
And that's something that as a Florida resident, we don't think a lot of, because we do hang our hat on being the free state of Florida. We like to think that with the wonderful Governor DeSantis, we're obviously moving in the right direction. But part of what I've learned in your website, the People's Audit, which obviously we'll show our viewers here in a moment, but why did you start that? And what were you finding, or what were you uncovering when you had access to the voter rolls? I don't think people realize a lot of this.
Well, I have to just tell you, I'm wired a little bit differently. I'm a first generation Polish, basically American, but born to two Polish immigrants, legal immigrants at that, two legal green card holders that I was born here in the United States. And I got a chance to see communist Poland as a teenager. And I came back, kissed the ground, and became a patriot. And then later on, I heard Ronald Reagan say, tear down this wall. And I said, I'm a Republican from that point forward. Fast forward, after I got out of the military again, I basically wanted to inhale anything I could about the United States, understand everything about our history, Constitution, and everything. By fate, as fate would have it, I married a Venezuelan woman. So as the wall was actually coming down in Europe, and basically all my family was getting free in Poland, I was watching her country get dismantled all over an election. So I just felt at 2020 that like God is calling me here, because not only was that in my background, I spent like 20 years cleaning data and mostly around address data. So I dived in with that expertise and just started to go to work at the voter rolls to see what I could find that was wrong with the voter rolls. And I was horrified. Like it just, everything we would imagine, because we're so spoiled, we pick up our phones and order something from Amazon and it gets here the next day without any issues. The state doesn't follow anything like that.
And I think that's what was shocking to me, both as a candidate and somebody who was new to activism. I'm shocked because my brain doesn't work that way, Chris. So I heavily rely on people who are able to analyze data. What shocked me, though, was just in the last couple of years was the attempt by grassroots conservatives to really petition our elected officials here in Florida to do something to make our election system truly a gold standard. And a lot of us were met with pushback. And I want you to talk a little bit about that, because we always tell people to get involved, but then when you do, sometimes they're not quick to act. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, Florida is very, very camouflaged and just like we have gators sitting underneath the water in the Florida swamps here, the politicians are the same way. I mean, like they put on an appearance, especially with their Fox News interviews and things like that, that they're out there fighting for election integrity. And I can't think of anything further from the truth, because we're seeing it blatantly with just mass mail, mail-in ballots being used to just steal election after election. And more importantly, you just see it as the undertone of, just like we're going through now with the FRA being attacked and purged through the state. But they're purposely going after and targeting any kind of America First candidate. You can like I tell people, the elections are stolen way before election day. If you start to learn the grimy underbelly of how our politics work in the state, it's just shocking.
Can you give us sort of a watered down, digestible example of what that looks like? I know we spoke about mail-in ballots. How is something like that used for bad intentions really here in the state of Florida?
Well, in our state, we have in-person voting with ID checks, but it's not required. So in-person voting seems to be pretty up and up. We have a lot of community outreach and basically overwatch with poll watchers and things like that. But mail-in ballots are centralized in Florida. We actually have a printer in Orlando that prints ballots for 2/3 of the state. And with a centralized printer, you have the ability to basically steal elections. And then there's also like the little stuff that happens, because when you start looking into the oversight with mail-in ballots, it's just one thing after another. We could probably spend an hour going through all the problems. But at the end of the day, like if you're standing in there in front of somebody voting in person, it's much harder to cheat in volume. And with mail-in ballots, you could literally back up a truck and steal an entire election for the entire state.
Absolutely. I joke that, I learned even as a young girl not to put $100 bill in an envelope and try to mail it through the post office. I mean, I wouldn't do that. And we're not in a third party agreement with the United States Postal Service. So it's very ironic that we treat, I guess, our election system that way, that we're able to do that. We had an issue in the primary here in 2024 in Florida, where shortly after polls closed, all the SOE reporting systems went dark. All of the websites went dark. Have you heard anything about, or is anybody looking into what caused that and how to, if anything had been done with that?
Not from the state. In the state is almost like entirely in cover-up mode. They've completely ignored petitions, reports, calls for investigations. And the thing is that what I do, you're talking about, like, this is why FedEx was created. If you think back to, you have to have it absolutely positively overnight. The reason you can actually order something from Amazon or anything online and you don't have to worry about it never reaching your house is because of gold standard just data processes that the state completely ignores. So when it comes to mail-in ballots, we have so much waste that basically mail-in ballots just show up as undeliverable. And because they're undeliverable, they get harvested from the offices of the supervisor of elections, the post offices, and then essentially identities are stolen. So the other thing is there's no identity checks. We just saw just here recently with the last election. 500,000 mail-in ballots were requested without any ID. And it's supposed to be by the law. The law says that you have to provide either your last 4 digits of your social security number or your driver's license number. And it's impossible to do it online without those 2 pieces of information. Somehow, when you look at the records, 500,000 mail-in ballots were basically requested. And out of those, 82% of them voted.
Wow. So that leaves me to want to ask you, so what, because I don't want to leave on sort of a hopeless feeling. There's obviously something we the people can do. Let our viewers know first where they can find out more about the People's Audit, and also what is the call to action that we can do? What can we do today to try to help better secure our elections?
The biggest thing is right now is we're in a legislative session. So just pushing back and making sure that your legislator knows that you're concerned about election integrity, and specifically around mail-in ballots and the voter rolls. There's a couple key issues people are following up this year. It's basically illegal immigrants being registered and being able to allowed to vote, mail-in ballots, and it's of course like the constant calls about just elections being on a single day. Because with the long period that we have for early voting, they have plenty of time to cheat, and they do.
Yes.
So I mean, the call to actions right now specifically would be going out and helping with the legislation push, calling your elected official, making sure that you're concerned, that they know that you're concerned, and getting involved with that. If you're a data person and you want to be involved with more looking through what's happening in your specific county, you can go to my website, The People's Audit, thepeoplesaudit.org, and you can sign up and reach out to us, and we'll put you into your county so you can have access to your county data.
Wonderful. Chris, I know we could talk for much longer on this. We will definitely have you back. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Guys, make sure that you visit Chris's website, get involved, and don't go anywhere, because with CCN, we're going to have the peer review coming up next. Hi, guys. Welcome to our Faith in Focus segment right here on CCN. It's really important to us that we make sure that we branch out and welcome in our faith community to be a part of our regular news, because there's a lot happening here on the Sun Coast with our faith community. I want to welcome today Camden Bedinghaus. Of course, he's no stranger because he's been on many platforms, even on Patriot TV. Camden, thank you for joining us here on CCN.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle. Thanks, guys, for having me on the new show. I'm glad you guys are doing it.
Awesome. Well, there's been a lot new. I mean, first of all, you've been an anchor to our Gen Z episodes on the home front, which were on Patriot TV. You've done No Filter Gen Z, which is your own platform, but now you've got something new in the works. So can you just tell our viewers what's this new project, this new podcast you have?
Yeah, so I just started a brand new show this year called Man of God Pod. So it's a podcast for young men and men of all ages, really, who are looking to grow in their faith and kind of embrace that. And I'm trying to empower them to grow with God instead of being ashamed of their faith, instead of being told by the world that they shouldn't tell anybody about it. I think it's important that we get out and live out our faith. And so that's what I'm trying to do with the show. And we're bringing on pastors and different guests to come on and talk about how men can become men of God and really embrace their masculinity while also being, a child of God and a man of God at the same time.
That's amazing. You know, I think for so long, and I'm old, obviously older than you, and I can remember sort of this women's liberation movement that's happened through the course of my life. And as women have kind of pushed to be recognized as equals or whatever, we've also on the downside made masculinity out to be somehow toxic. And I think your generation, because I have kids your age, I think your generation maybe is the first generation to really grow up in this and go, well, what is masculinity? Have you felt that in your own, throughout your own life?
Yeah, I think that our generation, mine, Gen Z, has been a little bit in the middle, because for half of it, we're just the victim of it. We don't even know what's going on. We're coming out of that cycle of where you're not supposed to be, who God wants you to be. But at the same time, we're waking up and realizing, you know what? we're not supposed to be like the world. We're supposed to embrace our masculinity and get back to how God designed things to be. And also, that's the whole thing with that movement is no one is trying to tell women they can't do things. But in my opinion, what we see is there's a role for a man and a role for a woman. And when they work together and live it out right, it works perfectly.
Right. Which is one of the things you're doing through this, Camden, and that you've always done since I've known you, is you live out your faith out loud. I don't think that you ever feel like you mask it or you silence it. Is that something, first of all, where did that come from? Where did you learn that? And what would be your advice to people who are watching this who maybe aren't so comfortable doing that?
Yeah. I don't know when I started being like that. I think it was when I became a believer in God, because I started to say, yes, I could be liked by the world and get out all these things that would make me feel validated and good, but there's nothing that matters if it's not coming from God. There's an approval that we look for this way, but we have to look this way up to God for his approval, because there's a lot of verses in the Bible saying, if you seek the approval of man, you're eventually going to fall. It's not going to work out like you think it does. And you think you're filling yourself with what you need, but you're really just filling something that only God can fill, and that God-sized hole in your heart. And so when you really embrace your faith and say, I need to live as the man God made me to be, because that's what's going to really fulfill me. That's how I got onto that boldness track. But for anybody who wants to become just more outspoken of their faith, my first step would be talk to God about it and get the confidence from him. Because I'm not confident in myself because of anything I've done. It's because I know who God made me and the identity he's given me. So I don't even have to question what things I'm saying or what I'm reading, because I have his word available for me anytime I need it.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. And part of what I love that you do, I don't know if anybody, if you have to follow Camden on social media, because he also does these like short snippets of how he puts faith into action in his life in 30 seconds. And it's digestible for us as we're going through our busy day. But God really put it on your heart to speak to this topic specifically, this fearless masculinity. And so you actually wrote a book. Tell our viewers about this.
Yeah. And so it goes along with the same thing I'm talking about the show I'm starting, because it's all about these men, like I was, that felt out of place a little bit, because we're feeling like there's not a role for us. But then I'm looking at God's word and what he's doing in my life and saying, no, there is a place for us. And so I had to write a book about it, because I felt so strongly about men embracing the man God created them to be. And that's what the whole book is about. It's about the roadmap to discovering who God made you to be as a man, and not being defined by this toxic culture, toxic masculinity. We're redefining toxic to fearless, and really embracing men to come into God's will and see what he can do for their life.
So how has this, I know it's on YouTube, and we'll make sure we show the link here below. How's it been going with the Man of God pod? First of all, I love it. I love that idea. I love the design. This is amazing. But what kind of topics have you guys been talking about?
It's been going good. We just started at the beginning of the year, this month, January. So we're getting around to the schedule, but we're on Mondays and Thursdays. We're every week, we're on there. And so far we've talked about how we're not called to be nice guys as men. You know how a lot of men right now are feeling like they need to go with the grain and be like everybody just to be liked by them. But God's not calling us to be those nice guys. He's calling us to be, proud of our faith above anything. We're supposed to stand in our faith. And I think of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that were in the fire. They were told to worship this statue by the king at that time, and they weren't going to do it no matter what, because they knew that God said don't worship any other idols. And we need to get back to that faith where we're going to stand up for what God's saying, no matter who is against us. Because if God is for us, who can be against us?
That's amazing, Camden. And I know we discuss a lot of times openly on different shows that we're on. We discuss our political viewpoints.
Yeah.
We discuss our faith. And I think it's important even for our viewers, because we obviously serve a very conservative audience, but it's important that we don't even put that faith in somebody like Trump, right? Like God's obviously using him for a time, but has that ever been difficult for you to even water down your political viewpoints, or do they kind of go hand in hand with your faith?
Yeah, there's a point where you can't make it an idol, because you know that everything of this world is eventually going to fade away and God is eternal. But I believe that God works in every area, especially politics, because what politics is issues we care about. We want our country to be the best we can be. And if we bring our faith into that instead of being scared to get into it, that's when God's really going to bless it, because we're made to do that. We're made to bring him into whatever we do. It says, whatever you do, do it for the glory of God, and God's going to bless it abundantly. So that's what I've done with, my opinions in politics. And I think really what I've done is stand on God's word and the truth. Because right now in our world, there's two directions, and one way is clearly going against what God says. And I'm like, this is not so much just left versus right. This is right versus wrong, and God made it clear in the Bible, and that's what a lot of conservatives are doing as well right now.
I love that, Camden. If you're listening to this and you're hearing this and you're thinking you might want to get your hands on Camden's book, it'd be a great gift for your Gen Z, or even if you are a part of a youth ministry. Camden, let our viewers know first where they can follow you, where they can find your podcast, your new podcast, and also where to get your book.
Absolutely. So yeah, if anyone's wondering, it's a perfect book to start that journey with God or even continue it where you've been. So at Camden Bedinghaus on all platforms, you can find me there. But if you want to find the book, it's camdenbedinghaus.square.site. And then you can find the podcast at Man of God Pod on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music.
That's amazing. Camden, you're such a breath of fresh air. I think there's so much hope for our future with people like you leading the way in our Gen Z community. I'm happy that you're so involved. Keep us posted on what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Don't go anywhere. We've got our Medical Minute coming next.
Hi, Nurse George. I have one question for you. So, could work stress be making me sick?
Absolutely. Work stress is pretty bad, and it's an ongoing every day. And even before work, you start getting stressed, and after work. So it is definitely a yes. Any kind of stress, family stress, related, any kind of stress, really, what we will do is bring the cortisol level high, and that will bring our inflammation. So we will start getting sick in digestive system, headaches, migraine, muscles. Everything is affected, and unfortunately, stress also is a contagious disease. So you're gonna start passing that stress to others. So I used to tell people, get ready for your Get a Health phone, so they get your savings. So whenever it's non-manageable, you can get to tell your boss, get a Health boss, I'm out of here.
So Joey is our middle child. We have 3 kids. He's 13 years old, and he was born with a chromosome deletion, and he was diagnosed with autism and intellectual disability. When he was 8 years old, he was diagnosed with epilepsy, and he started having seizures almost once a week. When Vic told us about this treatment, and since he had his first treatment, he hasn't had a seizure. He's been seizure-free for over 3 months, and it's been a miracle, really.
I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to work on the level that it did, but I can say now, without a doubt, it really, really works. Nothing else has worked as good as this.
Right. He's been much happier. He's had a lot more energy. He's just been in a positive mood, talking more.
Interacting more.
Yeah.
And just more vocal, and also very funny.
Right, and Joey will always be Joey. We love Joey the way he is. We just want him to be happy and healthy. He taught me patience, true unconditional love.
Acceptance,
yeah, right?
Joey's like an angel.
He is an angel.
Hi, this is Carlo with your brand new segment, The Student Report. Today, my colleague Max is talking with students about their opinions on the recent TikTok ban.
Hi, Ruth.
Maddie.
And what do you think about the recent TikTok ban?
Well, it's not happening anymore. I'm hyped.
Hyped. So, were you surprised when they came out and they said they were going to ban TikTok?
Yeah, I was. I actually didn't think they were going to do it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm here with
Christopher St. John.
And?
Ivor Summers.
And what do we think about the recent TikTok ban?
I mean, it's sad. It was only a day, though.
Only a day?
Well, that's a quick while, but in that time, it was very, very detrimental to my health.
To your health. So how did it affect how you communicate with your friends, probably overseas, Chinese friends, whatever?
I mean, I just use Snapchat. I don't really use TikTok to talk to people.
I have some of those online friends send them TikToks. I wasn't able to do that for a couple hours. And honestly, I craved it the whole time. It was really sad.
Wow. I'm here with
Michael.
And what do you think about the recent TikTok ban?
I mean, I don't really care. I didn't use TikTok like that much. I'm more of a Instagram Reels guy.
Oh, a Reels guy. So, is it justified?
Justify. I wouldn't know.
I'm here with Ian Riddle. And what do you think about the recent TikTok ban?
Well, I really like TikTok, so I was very sad when they banned it, I was disappointed, but I'm happy it came back quickly.
So, like, that periodic ban, when it was banned, like, how are you holding up?
I was actually very sad. I was just in my room just crying all night. I was so sad about the TikTok, and I turned to watching Dexter. That's how bored I was,
Shoot, what season you on?
I'm on season 4.
Season 4, bro. I'm about to finish it, so. Oh, so you're up also. Yeah, bro. I'm locked in. Hi, I'm here with
Above. Shane.
And what do you guys think about the recent TikTok ban?
It's horrible, man. They need to keep it. They need to ban it.
They need to ban it. All right. So why do you think they should keep it, and why do you think they should ban it?
This was a lot of influential videos on TikTok. Because I don't have TikTok.
You don't have TikTok. All right. Hi, I'm here with
Allie, Avery.
And what do we think about the recent TikTok ban?
I don't really care. It was kind of stupid.
All right, kind of stupid, doesn't really care. How often were you guys using it before it got banned?
Right? All the time.
All the time. I'm here with James Paul Gerard Timpson Worth. And what do you think about the recent TikTok ban?
I mean, on one hand, we are low-key all addicted to TikTok. That's accepted. But on the other hand, I don't think it was necessary. You feel me?
Mm-hmm. So do you think it's like an effective way to, help secure America's privacy?
Not really, because all social media can get your information, not just TikTok. So it doesn't really do much.
Hi, Ruth.
Sophia.
And what do you think about the recent TikTok ban?
I think I'm pissed about it, honestly. I was so mad. And every time, do you know when it started lagging when you were on it?
Yeah.
I started hitting my phone against things. And then I started crying because I didn't know what video I was gonna watch. And then I went on Instagram.
Wow, she's just breaking her phone. What app are you using instead of TikTok?
Instagram Reels. Actually, no, Snapchat Spotlight.
I'm here with Kylan. What do you think about the recent TikTok ban?
It got banned.
Is that a question?
Well, I didn't know it got banned.
So, do you use any other apps other than TikTok?
Yeah, I use Instagram Reels.
I'm here with
L1. Greece.
And what do we think about the recent TikTok ban?
I don't really care. I don't have TikTok. It hasn't affected me in the slightest.
All right, so it hasn't affected him. He doesn't have TikTok. What app are you using instead of TikTok?
Instagram Reels. Instagram Reels.
That was some great feedback. Thank you to all the students that participated. This has been the Student Report. We'll see you next week.
Thank you guys so much for joining us here today at Coastal Conservative News. That's going to be it for us.
Yeah, we're here in Washington, D.C. Obviously, by the time this airs, we will hopefully know a lot about the hearings that have gone on here in D.C. and who's gotten confirmed. We're hoping that all 3 of them are, but we are obviously here in D.C. in front of the Washington Monument. Guys, that's it for us today. If you have it in you to want to join us with a little bit of independent journalism, if you're a citizen journalist, make sure you reach out to us at contact@coastalconservativenews.com. Give us your ideas for the next story you'd like to see.
We'd love to hear from you.
Take care.